competitive advantage in a crowded marketplace. And yet, many of us don't know what the best, easiest competitive advantage is that we own. And it happens to be our voice. Our uniqueness in the marketplace is something that no one else can duplicate, and it is going to be the difference maker in your business. And that is why we're so excited today on Amplify Your Marketing Message. We're going to be sitting down with a voice expert. We're going to be talking with Laura Doman. Super excited to have her joining us today. She is a person who spends her career and her life today in the world of voice as both a voice artist and someone who is both on the camera and on the audio. So Laura, welcome to our show today. Can't wait to have this conversation.
Oh, thank you, Christine. I really appreciate being here and talking with everyone.
So I want to talk about this whole idea of differentiation because we know competitiveness is everywhere.
Mm.
And it's easy to say, go differentiate yourself. But what we observe is that very many people struggle with implementing or understanding what it is. I want to kick us right into the conversation about, from your point of view, how and why is differentiation so incredibly important?
Thank you. And I'm going to suggest that maybe most of your audience does not realize that a business professional, an entrepreneur, and an actor have a lot in common. And what's that? The risk of being looked at as a commodity, one of a sea of sameness. Nobody really wants that. We're all unique individuals. And that is really the key. If you're trying to differentiate yourself, you have to feel comfortable in knowing what your mission is, who you are, what you have to offer, and your unique voice and persona that can lend value and really establish value for your customer. There are a lot of ways of being able to do that, but it's honing in on what's uniquely you, the human side of you. Throw perfection out the door, the foibles and everything. It's who you are as a person connecting with one other human being.
I think that that is so up my alley because I have been screaming from the rooftop, you need to bring the human back into this. And I love that you talk about it's easy to feel commoditized. And for businesses and particularly owners and in your case actors who get into the place of I think everyone thinks I'm just like everybody else. Well, I'm going to challenge you that if that's the way you think, it's probably the way you're showing up. And so let's talk about the shift. How do you make the leap to start differentiating yourself and owning your humanness?
Well, I guess it goes back to that old rule just know yourself and embrace it. So, for example, I tend to be kind of upbeat, funny, relatable, kind of silly, but am I going to be the ultra authoritarian? Probably not. Am I going to try to compete with people like that? Not a wise choice. I have to know what my strengths are and to be able to capitalize on it. Now, that doesn't mean that's all you are, but it is a good starting point. And that's also true if you're going to be differentiating your business or your brand. What is it that you offer the most? What is it that makes you different from everybody else out there? And pick those few qualities. And if you're not sure what they are, I would ask people. You ask your clients, you can ask your consultants, you can ask your family or friends. But there is a unique essence that each of us as human beings bring out. And it could change depending on our situation. For example, I'm a mom. I've got a mom vibe. I've got a performer vibe. I also have the good friend vibe and the consultant vibe. But you have to find out what is the essence that runs through it all. So, for example, in my case, it might be somebody who wants to help you do better. In which case, it's that helpful persona that is going to infiltrate anything that I have to offer. So that when people look at me, whether I am offering a service, like a coaching service, or if I'm going to inhabit a character, they're going to see a helpful human being, somebody there that we could relate to that's going to be on our side and not adversarial.
What's so interesting here is that you've talked about I have a lot of different vibes, and yet I, as a human, pull them all together. And I think I want to talk about this for a second because it is one of the fundamental light bulbs that goes on when I'm working with a client. When we talk about who are you? And at first we're like, well, I'm this person in this lane, and I'm that person over here. And in my business, I think only this part should be visible. And it makes me cringe It makes me feel like the reason this feels hard and heavy and stagnant is because you're not coming to play with all of you. And all of you is what culminates into that human story. I am a mother. I am a friend. I am somebody who can lead a consulting conversation. And if I just try to compartmentalize and only show up as part of it, it feels less than what is possible. And so I think what you and I are both saying is show up as all of you, knowing that the labels aren't how you define it. It's the vibe and the energy that people will go, I feel like I'm in the right space. And if people can't instinctively get that without you trying to sell it hard, something is off in the message.
Very true. And let me also tell you, if anybody out there is curious about acting as a career, they are not looking for people who are just playing characters. They're looking at what can you bring as an individual to that character. So you might take on the attributes of whatever that character is described at, but they want to see the true essence of who you are. And that is also true in your service. So you might be offering, let's say, consulting services on strategic management, and so maybe 100 other people. But how do you do it differently? What's the unique you that comes through that people are going to trust, which they're going to need before they decide to like and buy from you, by the way? So they want to know who you are. And just be yourself, foibles and everything, like I said.
I think that this is such an important message because so often we start to think about, well, how will I be perceived? And maybe I should edit myself. And what I'm really hearing from you is the power of the yes. The power of you're the must hire choice is when you can confidently show up and say, this is the lens in which I see the world. This is my interpretation, the voice I choose to describe, share, explain, live, and embody. And when we do that, there's something quite magnetic that happens.
And I would
And
even, oh, so I'm sorry,
go
go
ahead.
on.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I would even say throw this out there, something probably left field for a lot of people. Try improv or have somebody come into the workplace because you know what the essence of improv is? You have to listen to the other person. You have to be your authentic self and you never negate what somebody else is saying. Just like you were saying, Christine, yes. Yes, I hear you. And you build it up. And that's how you move forward. It is accepting, taking it in, and then driving it into particular lanes and directions that might benefit everybody.
So I just heard a challenge sent out to the audience here at Amplify Your Marketing Message. We need an improv night happening. And what I love about improv, and I am a fan in the audience, although I don't think I've ever formally jumped into it outside of summer camps, is it requires that you think, listen, and stay in the moment. And I think so often when we think about authenticity, it's a word we hear a lot. And I think we often fall short of it because we're trying to plan it. And I say what really comes down to is you owning in the moment. This is how I feel. This is what I think. This is my opinion. And having the courage to own it is the thing that will determine whether your message lands with the audience that you are seeking to serve. And you're not for everybody. And that's an interesting point you talk about the acting world is everybody could deliver the line. What they're looking for is my essence in my lens and why I'm the right person to embody this particular storyline to achieve a result. And that's the
Yes.
culmination of all the different labels and characters and connection points. So I'm curious, why do we struggle with this authenticity from your perspective and someone who's had to really know self in order to be successful in their career? What's the elephant in the room when it comes to the word authenticity and actually showing up with our voice?
Well, I think part of it is that you got to know who you are and you've got to focus on your message. And you also don't have to be afraid of looking a certain way, acting a certain way. There is something that is said a lot when you're talking about video production, especially if you're going to be making it yourself for a business. Perfect is boring. I mean, you might as well get one of the robots in. Let's bring in AI. But you know what the problem is with AI? It's not human. It lacks the emotion and it lacks the connectivity. And you need connectivity to your message, to the material, to your audience. And it doesn't matter whether you are going to be an actor or a business person. You need to have the heart in there. You have to know what your message is. You want to have to impart it. You want to be able to bring it to the other person so it makes sense and that it gives value. And you just need to stop worrying about everybody else supposedly judging you, because guess what? They're probably not. I mean, I might just be criticizing myself. Oh my gosh, I stumbled over a word. I'm a voice actor. I'm not supposed to do that. Hey, don't we all feel better knowing that everybody does that? Of course.
100%.
Yeah, just like how many of us really admire all those gorgeous leggy models who've got lots of money and have everything going wonderful for them. Oh, that's nice, we might say, but it isn't real and it isn't human, even for them. A lot of that is just show.
100%. And I think what's truly the thing that creates movement, which is what I heard in that description from you, is it isn't about perfection. And
Mhm.
in fact, showing up as a work in progress can be not only freeing from yourself and the permission you give yourself to play, figure it out, and just connect, it also allows someone in the audience to say, oh, thank goodness they're not perfect either. Because
Yes.
there's nothing alluring about perfection other than it's intriguing to watch. What's more interesting, though, for movement is the imperfection and how does it come together? And tell me
Mhm.
more. And I have a curiosity sparked. And curiosity, as you've heard many times me say on this podcast, curiosity is the goal of messaging. It is the goal of knowing what are you creating movement around.
Mhm.
And yet, sometimes when we do get in our own headspace and we think it is all about me and I must show up perfect, we fear rejection. Does it serve us? I doubt it. So, how do we reconcile the biggest driver of owning your unique voice?
You're talking about the fear, the
Mhm,
worry about being judged and all that.
mhm,
I think it's just kind of keeping in mind too, people are fascinated with the attainment. How do you go from point A to point Z? Some of the best things that are most popular, if you're trying to figure out videos or if you're trying to look at somebody's careers, how did they start? What were the mistakes that they made on the way? What can I learn from that? You, first of all, you feel like it is attainable. It
mhm.
helps to hear that people have failed at a business 50, 60, 100 times before they got it right. Not everybody gets it right the first time. We're all learning and we're growing. If you take a look at an actor at the early stages of their career, it's probably pretty raunchy, but you can see how they grow into it. I remember, and I was a businesswoman for many years before I got into acting. That was something I decided to do later on in life. But I remember taking pictures, either corporate headshots, and then later just for personal. And I just remember feeling very stiff and, smiling. The interesting thing is when I turned 30, and yes, I'm over 30, way over 30.
I'm way over two, so it's good.
We're good. We're in the same place. But I just finally said, I don't care so much. And I'm just going to relax into it. And all of a sudden, they came alive. It's the same thing if you're going to be talking to people, if you're going to be showing up in a video or in front of the camera just with a headshot, that comes through. And one of the best things is as you get older, at least it has been for me, honestly, I don't care so much. I mean, you live a while, you have your experience, and it's like, look, you're either going to like me or you're not. And the judgment goes both ways. They may not think we're right for their project, but sometimes the customer isn't right for us either. And we have to recognize it and realize that not everything is going to be a good fit, but they will respect us more when we know what is the correct fit. And in my case, I love to refer to others. I may not be the best voiceover for this particular job, but I know what you're looking for. And I'm going to call in Bob, who's one heck of an old school announcer. And I think that's the vibe you need. Or I'll give you a choice of 3 or 5. And the same thing is true in business. You can't be afraid necessarily of your competition. You have to have the strength and confidence in what you offer. And then you become a resource. And even if they don't use you that one time, guess what? They're probably going to come back another.
It creates a ton of goodwill to look at the bigger picture.
Absolutely.
And I think what I think is so important when we're talking about unique voice and the fact that one, you're not reaching for it, it is inherent to what you do, is that it is a celebration when you have rejection because it's not your room. And when
That's
you
right.
get to decide also, if you're not connecting with the style in which I deliver it, please don't make yourself a contortionist to try to find and fit and serve them. Move on and
Mm-mm.
introduce them, because I think that that is what connection is all about. It is clear that the right audience for you is the audience who gets your message, sees your flaws and thinks they're kind of quirky but relatable. They're also the person who is, what you said to me was, receptive. If the
Yes.
audience isn't receptive to you, they're not your audience. But
No.
there is perhaps another one out there. You standing into that truth, seeking it proactively, is a rallying cry I hope you pick up and hear and go embrace.
And one more thing too, they want people that are easy to work with. It doesn't
Mm,
matter what business you're in. And when you go back to what you were just saying, Christine, about being like somebody, we hear that a lot in the voiceover world as well as on camera. For example, we want the sound of, let's say, a Viola Davis or a Scarlett Johansson. They don't, if they wanted those people with those voices, they pay the money and try to get them. They want the essence, the vibe, but they want to hear what you bring to it. They want to hear
mm.
your unique voice because they'll recognize it when they hear it. And they're more interested in hearing a human being, seeing a human being, dealing with one across the table. So authenticity is definitely the word of the day.
You know what I heard there, which was so magic? It was slow, but it was so important. They may not be able to articulate it, because if they really wanted that, they would have paid the big bucks for that. What they know is I am questing for something in the vibe, and I will know it when I see it. I will
Very
know
big.
it when I hear it. So you do need to decide, what do you stand for? And sometimes this is a very hard thing to do on your own, which is why you have people like Laura, people like myself to say, get into conversation. What do I hear? How confident is that delivery? And you know what? I know the right room for you to be in, or somebody who's really going to get your vibe, who will hear and resonate with your message. And when that all starts to culminate, it is so freaking fun. It opens doors of infinite possibility. I
Yes.
absolutely love what you're all about, Laura. That's why you and I connected and said, I want to come play with you, because I think we do need to know you have everything that it takes to be competitively at an advantage in today's marketplace if you simply tune in to what's inside you, to
Mhm.
your heart, to your humanness. And so I want to ask this. I ask this of every guest that's here on my platform, because you are a business owner yourself. You're in the
Mhm.
world of acting and always looking for your own stages to be on. What
Yes.
is working? I always say to people, amplify what's working now. Let's take the mystery out of this. What is working for you right now? What's working in your business to create movement, to find the right rooms, and to connect to the authentic audience who sees your value? Tell us
Okay.
what works for you.
I'm going to give you the tip that works very well, not just in voiceover, but in camera or anything else, especially since we're going to still be operating for some time in these little boxes, not in 3D, and that is talk to one person. Now, if it's scary to you to be talking to somebody you may not know very well, or you're going to be presenting to a group of people, take a picture of a good friend of yours or a child of yours that you could relate to, or your mother, whatever it might be. Put it there next to the camera and talk as if you were speaking to that individual. It will come across in your natural voice. People watching you will feel like, oh, you get me. You're talking to me as a friend. Now, don't talk down like to a real child. Make your child a little bit older. And you
Yeah,
don't
not the
want to,
toddler.
yeah, no, and you don't want to be shouting to your mother who might be a little hard of hearing. But it's the idea that you are in your own mind connecting to somebody that you care about. And the people who are listening to you, that are watching you, dealing with you, are going to see, hey, there's somebody there that really, really cares. Because relationship is what makes the business happen. And this is probably one of the easier ways to get over some of your fear and to be able to just get started so the real you can come out. That in improv.
Okay, well, we're going to go down to improv. That's still a challenge. Everyone who watches this podcast, I want you to be dropping me a note saying challenge accepted and send me some pics of you on the improv stage. But I love what you're talking about is show up for the power of one. And if you are not super confident coming into new spaces, We call it create the wall of confidence at the end of the room. Bring in friends. Put a screenshot of someone you know and care and you feel safe within their environment, and use that to remind yourself to talk to the power of one person. It's been incredible to talk about people to people powered and using your unique voice, how you can use it to connect to more people. Laura, how do people find you if they want to know more about you and what you do?
Well, just check me out on my website, lauradoman.com. I also have a YouTube channel that has a lot of my work on it, including I have some short videos on how you can get more comfortable and more effective if you're trying to talk to people on camera yourself. And those would probably be the two best ways, but I'm also on LinkedIn pretty often. And that again would be at Laura Doman.
Guys, I want to invite you to take that invitation and run. Thank you for being our guest. This has been another episode of Amplify Your Marketing Message. Be sure to subscribe for future episodes because we're building the foundations to create competitive advantage, make more impact, have a heck of a lot more fun in your business, because truly your audience needs you to show up in the best light, to be human, to help be the guides, and to create impact together. Thank you for being our guest. We will see you all on our next episode.
Thank you. Bye-bye.